Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. So today's video is going to be about how to get started on that business. So I'm going to give you the step-by-step how I was able to build not only one business but really 3 businesses and the process about doing the whole thing. So we're still January. This is still the first week of January. So my hope is that you guys are not giving up. Come on, you shouldn't give up, okay? This should be the year for you. For some of you who have the goal that this year is going to be a year where you're going to be an entrepreneur, where you're going to branch out and do something totally different. Maybe you've been sitting on that idea, maybe you've been sitting on those products, and this is the time for you to get it started. So we're gonna get started with today's video, but before we do, don't forget to click the like button, subscribe, and let's get started. So the first thing is going to be you have to write down your ideas. This is something that I always preach about because this is something that I've done on my own. I have notepads after notepads of just writing down anything that I feel like I'm passionate about. Once your ideas are written down, now it's time to narrow it down. So my first advice that I always tell people is that you have to go for something that may look easy for you, that when you talk to your friends, your family members, they feel like they have to learn the skills, but meanwhile you already got the skills. When I'm talking about you have to write them down, write your ideas down, then narrow it down to something that you feel like you are good at, or at least decent at, something that you can keep on perfecting, and that's how you have that first idea down. And I know for so many of us, we have so many ideas, and I'm one of them. I'm guilty for that, okay? I have a creative mind, so which means that sometimes I can find myself doing so many things at the same time. But when I was about to launch my first business, I really had to decide and really sit down with myself and be like, okay, what is it that I'm really good at, that many people think is a skill that they don't have? And that was going into fashion. So write the ideas down, narrow them down, and then pick the one that you feel you can always improve on and you can get started today. Once you have the idea down, then now you have to know your audience. You have to know who you're going to be sending it to, who you're going to be, like advertising to, because it's really important. So you have to know your audience. Do some market research based on the demographic, based on the place, the country, because selling in Cameroon, for example, in Africa, and selling in America has been 2 different ball games for me. So I've had to learn how to do business in Africa. What do people like? What do women like when it comes to bridal gowns, wedding gowns? And I also had to do the same in the US because the tastes are different, the culture is different. So you really have to do a good market research. But one thing that I'm going to tell you, and one thing that I always insist on, is don't sleep on it. Because I know people who have been doing market research for years and years and years. Don't sleep on it. When I'm saying do market research, it simply means that you have to know your audience, who you're going to be selling to, and what's the culture like, what do they like, what do they want, what the expectations, and that's how you get to know, okay, this is who I'm going to be selling to, and now you have that step figured out. Next step is going to be to test it out. I know many people who have good ideas and they feel like, because I know I love this thing, I'm just going to go ahead and launch it. Guys, you have to go through the phase of testing it out. The way I will always advise people is that give it to your friends, sell it to your cousins, sell it to your siblings, sell it to your parents. One other thing that I have to mention here is that your parents or your family members may be biased, okay? So you have to take that into account, that they just love you and they may give you really good feedback even though the product is not perfect or the product is not good. So you have to test it out, whether it means giving it to co-workers, talking about the ideas, showing them the product, showing them the services, giving them a full picture of what you want to do, because guess what's going to happen? They're going to start giving you feedback. Oh, I really love what you're doing, but I wish you had this thing. I wish you had this thing on top. Have you thought of this thing? And that's how even me, myself, I've been able to improve on all my businesses. All of them. There's no entrepreneur out there who does not succeed if they don't listen to customers or to potential customers. So you have to test it out. At least have 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe 10 people who really like your product, who are asking about it. I remember for a long time, before I launched the bridal company, many people, because they have seen gowns, wedding gowns that I made for my siblings, for my sister-in-law, for my cousins, And for some friends, many people started asking, and that was a way for me to test it out. Because what's the best way to test it out if you're not using your relatives and your cousins and everybody else that surrounds you? So please do not skip this step because it's really important. Now it's time to think of your suppliers. Now it's time to think of who is going to be supplying you the raw material, who is going to be supplying you the product that you are about to sell, that you are about to put out in the market. I had to look for manufacturers because I was going to be having to work with manufacturers because I was going to custom make gowns. I was going to design some of the gowns that I feel like that's how I figured out. And before I actually launched the company, I already had at least 3 suppliers. That's also something, I mean, if you're a product-based business or you want to go into a product-based business, then you have to think of who are going to be supplying you those products. One advice that somebody gave me once, okay? And I never forgot it because at the time, I think I had 1 supplier only. And the person had told me, if that 1 supplier go bankrupt, then you're going bankrupt too. And it made me really think about, I need to find more than 1 good suppliers. For the people who are in the service-based business, it's all about time management. If you are the one, let's say you want to go onto YouTube, then you have to factor in the time you're going to be investing into creating videos, into shooting videos, creating content on a regular basis. You can be creating content once a month, then you skip 2 months, or maybe twice a week, then you skip another week, because people want consistency. That's just an example. So if you're the one who's going to be working on your craft and selling your services, then you need to figure out your time management, because I'm sure you guys already maybe have a job on the side. Now, maybe you're not just working on your own. Maybe you have somebody that you're thinking of, and this is what you have to do. You have to think about, is that person reliable? Because that's really important, because you don't want to start an idea, a business, and have the person that you were relying on give up on you, because that's going to be something that you're going to have to rethink the whole process. So once you have all of it figured out, now is when business starts shaping up. You have to get your business registered, your company registered, so you have to pick a name. And you have to pick a name. I know people are so passionate, and then they're like, I'm going to give this business, because I like Santa Claus, I'm going to give that business name Santa Claus. The name really matters. So make sure you pick a name that's going to be appealing. That's when people see, they're going to feel like, oh, this is what they do. So somebody gave me that idea after I had already come up with the name, and I was like, okay, cool. Whenever I come up with the next company, that's what I'm going to do. And that's what I did with YGL Consulting Co., because it's a consulting company, and I didn't want to confuse people on that. Okay, so you have to pick a name, get your business, your company registered, and then get your EIN number. And because, I mean, we're talking about federal taxes, because you do have to report your taxes, your revenues, and all of these things. This is a different video that I can go into because it's really long. By the way, my background is in accounting, tax, auditing, all of those things. So that's what I got the degree from, and that's why I was working for close to 9 years before I became this entrepreneur. So basically, another thing that I also want to say, usually when people set up the company and they set up the federal tax situation with IRS, if you're in America, then they always forget about state and local taxes. Depending on the state where you are, and I'm talking about, I mean, I feel like sometimes I talk because I'm thinking US, because this is where my expertise and everything came from. But depending on the state, if you're in the US, depending on the state that you are in, there's going to be some type of state and local taxes that's going to be applicable depending on the products or services that you provide. So you have to go into full research as to if I'm selling a tangible product in the state of Texas, is that taxable? Because you do have to apply taxes on it to your customer, because that's the tax that you're going to be reporting to the state. I don't know if that makes sense. So you have to research on it. Many people always do research based on the federal laws, federal tax law, and they do forget state and local taxes. So go ahead, do some research if that's applicable to you. And I'm talking here, that specific example is really for people in the US. If you're in Cameroon, for example, or anywhere in Africa, then you still have to look into your state and local taxes. Because I have a business here, two businesses, and I do pay state and local taxes here. So that's another research, another video for another day. So once you have your company registered, now it's time for you to have a sales funnels. So it simply means that where are going to be your products located? Because you need your customers to know exactly where they can find you and when they can purchase those products. So if you're selling products, services, regardless, you do have to have a platform that they can easily go on there, click, purchase the product or services that they want. So you can use social media, you can use website. I think for many people who have website, they still need to have a social media page. So that's going to go on to our next step. Marketing. I mean, I can just say advertising is everything. You guys don't have no clue. I mean, you have a clue. I'm sure you guys have a clue. But when you're starting out and you feel like, okay, I have a good product right here, right? And you think when you put it online, your website is gonna sell like that. No, it's not. I always tell the story about how I came up with a store, I put all the clothes in, manufacture all of these amazing wedding gowns, and it was crickets for close to 2 months. It was crickets. And then I think within the first month, I was like, oops, maybe I need to do some marketing. And this is something that as entrepreneur, you can be good at something, but you still have to learn the skills of marketing, because that's the only way people are going to know that you exist. That's the only way people are going to know that your products are there. And it's not one of those things that you would do advertising for 1 month and then you have to stop. No, you have to continuously do it. So don't sleep on WhatsApp, don't sleep on Facebook, don't sleep on Twitter, don't sleep on Clubhouse. When you go into rooms for Clubhouse and you're having conversation with people, always make sure you find a way to say something about your business, what you do, so that somebody in the audience can be interested, because you never know. You really never know. But content creation is key. That's why I'm so used to posting regularly, because I've had to learn the skill. I wasn't somebody who knew how to use social media. I started learning how to use social media just because of my bridal company, because there was no way I was going to sell without advertising. That being said, let me talk about the last tip and the last step, which is not really the last step, okay? This video, I didn't want to make it long, but there are so many steps when it comes to doing business. And this step right here is how to do bookkeeping. I mean, this is something that they don't teach you if you haven't done accounting in school or finance, but bookkeeping is everything. Because once you become a business, it means that you have to record every transaction. If you're spending $1 in buying a needle, you have to record that $1 because that's going to be expenses for the business. If you buy flight ticket to come to Cameroon because you have to open your store, that flight ticket is going to be included into your business expenses. There are so many things and so many conversations that I've had with people when it comes to basic bookkeeping. I'm not talking about professional accounting and you have to know GAAP principles or you have to know OHADA principles if you're in Cameroon, GAAP if you're in the US. But no, I'm basically talking about just the basic bookkeeping. That means I sold something today, it costs 100. Let me go ahead and record 100. You have computers, you can record it on a notepad. I mean, guys, just record everything. If you spend money for a shoot, for example, and you're paying a photographer, that is considered business expenses. Because recording transaction on a regular basis allows you to understand your cash flow, allows you to understand your P&L, profit and loss, allows you to understand if you're actually making profit. Another thing that I wanted to clarify on here is that you should be expecting that within the first 5 years, you shouldn't be making any profit, depending on your startup costs, for example. So if you have a retail business like me, then your startup costs are usually huge. And this is not, the break-even point doesn't even come within 1, 2, 3 years, really. So anyway, I hope this video was really helpful for some of you. Let me know what you learned. Let me know if 2022 is going to be the year that you're going to be saying enough is enough, no more excuses. Let me go ahead and get started. If you guys want me to go deep into taxes, into accounting, bookkeeping, and all of these things, guys, I know those are some of the boring subjects that many people don't want to know, but that's what makes you successful. I mean, guys, you can have a business if you don't know your numbers. So if you enjoyed this video, don't forget to like, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye-bye.